Warcraft Monday, everybody. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Rise and Embarrassing Fall of Trolls in Warcraft by PlatinumWoW. If you want to check out my previous reactions to other related Warcraft Monday videos, remember the player's card will be at the top. Just click on it and you'll be able to access them. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
There are not many other races on Azeroth older than the Trolls. Before there were humans, before there were elves, Tarn, orcs, pandas, the Trolls were there. In this video, we'll talk about the rise of the most powerful empires Azeroth had ever seen, and how they became the struggling kingdoms that were easily overthrown by the other races on Azeroth.
I know that the Trolls are an extremely old civilization. I'm just trying to remember whether the elves came from the Well of Eternity or they came from the Trolls. I'm still trying to remember. I've been told about this. I just can't put my finger on it, like, you know, the origins of the elves. But yeah, let's just continue. Yes, Zandalar music, Zandalar soundtracks, that's good.
So as far as we know, the origin of most troll culture comes from the mountains of Zandalar. It was here where trolls first discovered the wild gods, which they called the Loa, primal manifestations of life in Azeroth that became the main focus of their religion. The Zandalari trolls were the most powerful group of trolls at this time, and they lived in the highest parts of the Zandalar Mountains. The villages in these mountains would slowly develop into the humongous city of Zuldazar we know today. Zandalari society was built on a class structure called a caste system, meaning that trolls are born into a position of power or destined to be a lower class without much wiggle room. It's important to point out that the Zandalari trolls are the trolliest trolls around and have a lot of respect from the other tribes. Their society is all about recording troll history, worshipping the Loa, and maintaining the holy ground their city is built on and progressing their society. Without the Zandalari, trolls as a species would have never had a chance. And over time, other tribes started to form under the shadows of the Zandalari. Tribes like the jungle trolls of the Gurabashi, the forest trolls of the Amani, and the frost trolls of the Trakari. The Zandalari remained relatively peaceful with these tribes, as it was their mission to develop all of trollkind, not just themselves. Besides, they had a near infinite amount of land to share, so there was plenty to go around. Now, there was some infighting.
Okay, this was before the Sundering, because I can see the map there. It looked, you know, all of Azeroth, that entire supercontinent looked very complete, unlike how it is now, shattered continents and islands everywhere. So yeah, this was all before the Sundering. Alright, that's interesting. So the trolls and these other different clans or tribes of trolls ruled over this land all those years back, before any of these other races came by. That's interesting. And Zandalar was the capital of the troll civilization, if I can say that. Alright.
Being between tribes to show strength, but the problem was any conflict trolls got into with each other would only lead to heavy casualties on both sides. And besides, the trolls would need to learn to work together and fast, because there would be a very rude awakening in the future. So the trolls had almost limitless resources and land to explore, but there was one place that was forbidden. At the base of the Zandalar Mountains, there is a mound of solid black stones. The dark power of these stones were left untouched for thousands of years, until an outcasted shaman by the name of Zando succumbed to the whispers of a mysterious blade that told the troll whatever was under those rocks was an undiscovered powerful Loa. No! To awaken whatever power was deep within the earth, he performed multiple living sacrifices with the blade to appease this unknown power. And I don't think anything positive has ever happened from performing live sacrifices, so unsurprisingly, it was not a Loa trapped beneath the earth. It was the old god Cathraxi general named Kithix. You see, Kithix was alive back when the Titan Keepers were hanging out on Azeroth, I don't know, doing Titan Keeper things, and Kithix got into a scuffle with Tyr, and the two fought in a violent battle filled with explosions and violence that lasted 6 whole days, before Tyr delivered the final blow by self-destructing against the Cathraxi. The place where this explosion happened was called Tyr's Fall, which in Vicryl tongue translates to Tyr's Fall. But anyways, despite Tyr's noble sacrifice, Kithix survived but was gravely wounded. He retreated to the Zandalari Mountains where he collapsed in exhaustion. The Loa sensed this evil presence and buried him so he could never be awakened again. I'm sure they could have just told the trolls, hey, there's a giant goddamn bug monster the size of a skyscraper in the ground, don't dig it up, but they didn't. They decided to stay vague about it, and now the trolls have a huge problem on their hands. Thus began the Aekir and Troll War, a war where the trolls had to use their combined might to fight against Kithix and the Aekir, a bug-like race formed from the organic matter of the old gods. The trolls realized they needed to do something quick or their society would surely collapse under the old gods' might. The most powerful troll empires set aside their differences and made the most powerful partnership Azeroth has and probably will ever see. And that's the Empire of Zul. The Zandalari, Gurubashi, Amani, and Drakari tribes united under one banner to kick some major bug ass.
I'm going to enjoy hurting you.
The Aekir War lasted centuries, but ended with the Drakari, Gurubashi, and Armani tribes hunting down the retreating bugs to annihilate them for good so they'd never be a threat again. The Amani in particular hunted down Kithix in a suicide mission that ended with a majority of the Amani trolls dead, but they slayed the demigod and became legends in troll history. Because the troll tribes were now so far away from each other, they became more insular and established their own unique cultures and history, but the Zandalari Mountains remained a place of
Zul'Thara, leader of the Zandalari. I have a proposition for you.
Lei Shen, leader of the Mogu, reached out to form an alliance with the Zandalari. The two races were the most powerful forces on Azeroth at the
Okay, this I did not know about. This is very interesting that they actually joined alliances, the Thunder King and the King of Zandala. Alright, this is very interesting.
time, and a war between them would be mutually assured destruction. So their partnership was more one of complacency. The Mogu promised a large section of Pandaria in exchange for their aid, and the Zandalari were suffering after heavy losses during the Aekir War, so they partnered up with the Lei Shen and the Mogu. Lei Shen was a good partner to have because he was kind of a badass. I mean, the dude literally pulled the heart out of the Titan Keeper Ra and absorbed his power and fought the wild god Zul'In in a battle that lasted 30 days. So he's definitely a guy that you want on your team. The Zandalari would accompany Lei Shen in his next conquest for power in Oldham. The plan was to take control over the Forge of Origination. The Forge was an immensely powerful Titan Forge device that had the ability to eradicate all life on Azeroth if it became too corrupt. Lei Shen with his Mogu armies and Zul'Thara, the High Priest of the Zandalari with their troll armies, marched side by side to seize control of the Forge.
Open up the forge. Stop having it be closed.
Lei Shen said. The race called the Tol'vir were created to protect the Forge of Origination and ignored Lei Shen's orders. They quickly realized, though, that they didn't stand a chance against the two armies, so they decided to edit some code in the Forge of Origination and not nuke all of Azeroth, just Uldum.
Bomb has been planted. What the fuck?
Hi, guess what? It's ad time. Do you like WoW lore? Do you like getting things for free? I do. That's why I'd like to share a special deal with you. Yeah, you. Yes, I'm talking to you. If you go to audibletrial.com/plat, you can get a free audiobook. Look at all these cool Warcraft books they have on there. Wow, that's crazy. Or you could get a non-Warcraft audiobook. But the one that I'd recommend is Shadows Rising. It's the newest book, just came out. It talks about the events leading up to Shadowlands. It's voiced by Princess Talanji, and you can get it for free and support me and get a great product in the process. Just go to audibletrial.com/plat to get your 30-day free trial. That is audibletrial.com/plat. Get it. Okay, now I'm flying away in space. I'm flying away. Back to the video. The scorched land of Uldum turned into a barren desert, and Lei Shen, the high leadership of the Zandalari, and all their forces were obliterated in an instant. This sudden dismantling of leadership created a power vacuum for both empires. In the lands of Pandaria, this allowed the Pandaren to be victorious in their revolution against their slave masters. For the Zandalari, it was a scramble for power that made the wounded empire very cumbersome with their decision-making. The big question for the Zandalari was, so Lei Shen is dead, do we still get that land in Pandaria he promised?
No.
No, you don't. You don't. You made a promise with him, not with the people of Pandaria. You didn't make a decision with them. You made a choice, a deal with their overlord. So no, you're not getting that land.
Oh, not at all.
The Pandaren now ruled the lands the Zandalari were promised, so they decided to take it by force. The Zandalari Troll Wars had begun when the Trolls descended upon Pandaria and easily took over the lands of Kunlai and pushed into the Jade Forest. Victory was in reach until some random Pandaren named Zhang created the Order of the Cloud Serpents and destroyed the Zandalari armies, forcing the Trolls to retreat back to their home and lick their wounds. Okay, so 2 defeats in a row for the Zandalari. It could be better, but nothing could prepare them for the next major blow to Trolls as an entire race. During this whole time, a small subsect of Trolls called Dark Trolls migrated to the very center of Azeroth near the Well of Eternity, a source of infinite arcane power. Over generations, the Well of Eternity would transform these trolls into a whole different race. They developed glowing silver eyes, they lost their tusks, they stood up straight, they had 10 fingers, 10 toes, and these were not trolls anymore. These were the first ever Kaldorei. This newly evolved race adopted their own cultures, religion, and harnessed the powers of the infinite amount of magic their society was built on. The sheer strength of the Kaldorei grew exponentially. These virtually immortal, extremely magically gifted, arcane-wielding assholes spread like a plague across Azeroth. The disjointed and barely functioning Empire of Zul stood little chance against the powerful might of the Kaldorei Empire and their leader, Queen Azshara. The fact of the matter was, the elves could squash the trolls in an instant if they wanted to. So Queen Azshara told the trolls that if they stopped all forms of expansion of their empires, she'd let them live as a subservient to the Kaldorei Empire's rule. Imagine being a troll at this time. You are a race favored by the gods you worship. A race that has a history of being the strongest empire in existence, filled with conquest, rich cultural history, and immense pride. Then, all of a sudden, a race who were once trolls, perverted by the power of arcane magic, have the ability to easily topple your empire and absolutely humiliate you into being a complacent empire forced under the Kaldorei rule or face total annihilation.
The queen is so sassy. I mean, I love how PlatinumWoW made her do that. Wow. Yeah, no, but it's sad. It's really sad what happened to the Empire of Zul. How the trolls have literally become so weak. Well, I think you'll have to also blame the past leaders, those who wanted to claim more power, heading over to Uldum with the Thunder King, thinking that they could conquer that place, and with the king's death during that time, Zandalar and the entire empire just went into turmoil. And, I guess like the Night Elves got a break from that as well. Because I'm sure if the Empire of Zul was still intact, still stable, still having a strong leadership, maybe the Night Elves wouldn't have this kind of opportunity. I don't know.
This event filled the trolls with great resentment, a resentment that can still be felt to this day. One phrase continues to echo through every troll's mind. Man, fuck elves! All my tribe hates elves, and what's even worse is these dumbass elves started a war that introduced demons onto Azeroth, and the war ended with the whole world exploding. Now, almost every single troll tribe was completely disconnected from each other. Thankfully, the Holy Land of the Zandalari had a trick up their sleeve. It's called plot armor, and during the Sundering of the World, they had a magical shield that protected Zuldazar. But still, the heart of
It seems like many of these civilizations who had powerful arcane magic had these powerful plot armor shields protecting them. Suramar had it too. Well, yeah, I think it was only Suramar that had a shield. Oh yes, but this was not during time of the Sundering. Who were they? The High Elves, the city of Korthalas. It also had a plot armor shield protecting it from the Scourge, as well as the troll invasions. When the trolls were also attacking them, I forgot the name of the trolls, but not the frost trolls, the forest trolls, something like that. Yeah, when they were attacking Korthalas, they also had a shield protecting their city. So yeah, there's a lot of these either troll or elven civilizations that had these magical plot armor shields protecting them. Yeah.
troll culture was now an island totally separated from every other tribe. Join me in the next video where we go over every single tribe and discover their fate after this devastating moment in Azeroth's history. And, spoilers, almost every single tribe dies in a horrible, horrible, slow, painful death.
Well guys, that's it with the rise and embarrassing fall of the trolls in Warcraft. Yes, it's quite interesting to find out that, the trolls were like the very first intelligent beings on Azeroth. And from them stemmed the Night Elves, and the Night Elves thus created the High Elves, and the High Elves were living separately. But I'm going further away from the storyline of the trolls. Yes, the trolls and the tribes ruling over vast tracts of territory, land everywhere on Azeroth. I mean, it was one super giant continent. They had the time, they had the population, they had probably the innovation in technology, they had their gods, the Loa, they had magic. To some extent, I think they were not as proficient as the Night Elves, I think, but they had the magic as well, and they had everything. They really did have everything. They kind of remind me of the Eredar of Argus. how they also had everything on their world. They had the land, they had technology, they had arcane magic, they had knowledge of all things, and they were also immortal. But then they lost their world due to their own ambitions of their leaders wanting to become more powerful, and they got consumed by foul magic. But in terms of the trolls, one of their kings wanted more power, and he joined forces with the Thunder King Leishan to attack Uldum at the Forge of Origination, and that led to their own downfall as well, where now the leadership has been decapitated, and now there is civil strife amongst the various clans and various important caste members who wanted to become the new leader of Zandalar and also the Empire of Zul. So yeah, they destroyed themselves in the end, and during that course of that time, a new race was being born near the Well of Eternity, and that would become the Night Elves. And the Night Elves, with their own affinity to magic and their ability to adapt to the landscape of Azeroth, they just grew and multiplied and grew their empire so large. And then Queen Azura came there with her demands, her ultimatums, saying that they will continue to exist, the trolls, but they'll be subservient race to the Night Elves. It is a very sad ending to a very proud and very powerful civilization. But things like this happen. Empires rise and fall. Her empire also fell, due to her own arrogance and her own lust for power and ambitions to become even more powerful. They fell to foul magic, just like how the Eredai also fell to foul magic. The sundering occurred, which shattered the planet, the continents, should I say the supercontinent, into smaller continents and into islands, and thus the Night Elves would never be as strong as they ever were before, during the times when the Well of Eternity was under their control. So definitely, empires rise and fall. It is sad what happened to the Zandalari Empire and to the other orc tribes, how their empire of Zul just disintegrated. But these kind of things happen. So it's quite interesting to hear about how they united themselves to fight against the old gods. They were still united when they were under a king who led them to Uldum to try and take over the Forge of Origination, and then they shattered when that very same king passed away and his armies were destroyed, and there was a power vacuum created. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And I just didn't know that the Thunder King Leishan and the Zandalar king of the time, I forgot his name, guys, I'm sorry, I'll look up his name again, joined forces to try and take over the Forge of Origination. That's quite interesting. That's very, very interesting. But guys, I guess that's it with this video called Rise and Embarrassing Fall of the Trolls in Warcraft. The next one I'm going to be watching is Zul'jin Did Nothing Wrong, Armani Tribe Law. Okay, if you like the video, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I will see you in the next video. Alright? You'll see it somewhere here, probably, the card. Yeah, just click on it and you'll be able to access it. Okay, bye-bye.